strong.
Hi everybody, Miss Cleo's here. Are you ready to get started? Let's get started. Hello everyone. So this is Miss Cleo. This week our lesson is on the Garden of Eden out of the book of Genesis, chapter 2, verses 8 through 17. So now I'm going to send it over to Miss Latoya for our memory verse and prayer.
Hey guys, welcome back. It's time for a memory verse. Hey guys, welcome back. We are in the book of Genesis this week, chapter 2, verses 8. But first, I gotta bring back my vocab words. Here's our words. Our first word is planted, to put something in the ground. Our next word is eastward. That means east. Our next word is Eden. That's the place where Adam and Eve lived. And last but not least is form, to shape a thing or person. Here's our verse. The Lord God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. Keep practicing that verse. Remember, we're in the book of Genesis, chapter 2, verse 8. I'll see you next week for another verse. Alright guys, we cannot start our lesson until we do our prayer for today. Bow your heads and close your eyes. Dear Lord, thank you for another Sunday to hear your word. Thank you for allowing us to have Miss Cleo and her to share the word with us. Allow our children to learn something today and share it with someone. Thank you for your continued blessings, your continued healing, and continue to keep us safe. Amen. Alright, back to Miss Cleo for our lesson for today.
So this week, everyone, we're going to be learning about the Garden of Eden. But just for a quick review, last week I read a book and it told us about creation, about God creating the earth. Now I know it really didn't break down the days, so I'm just going to tell you on what days God made what. If you go back in the book of Genesis chapter 1, it will explain to you what was made on what day. So on day 1, God separated darkness and he made light. It was all dark and void. God made light and he separated darkness from the light. On day 2, God made the firmaments. He made the heavens. He made the heavens on day 2. On day 3, God made the earth, dry land. He made the earth, and then there was the sea. On day 4, God made the sun, the moon, the stars. He made the sun, the moon, the stars. Day 5, God made the animals. He made the birds and the fishes, and many of them. And on day 6, God made the cattle and the creepy things like spiders and beetles. And also he made man. He made man. And on the 7th day, God rested. On the 7th day, God rested. So now, the Garden of Eden. This is a place that God created. He made it himself for all the creatures and also for the first man and first woman, Adam and Eve, to live there. God knew that they needed a place to live, so he made this place for them. And so it's like a paradise. Now, the word paradise, what do you think that means? It's a place or a state of great happiness. Now, have any of you ever been to Disney World? You might say that Disney World is paradise. It's a place where you're so happy, there's no stress and nothing to worry about. That's what the Garden of Eden was, and God made it. But we're also going to see where sin comes in later on, and this is where we're going to be separated from God's blessings. But don't worry, God has a plan. He's going to bring us back. So now I'm going to read from Genesis chapter 2, verses 8 through 9. I'm going to put my head down and I'll lift it back up again. And this is the King James Version. The Lord God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. And out of the ground the Lord God made every tree grow that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. The tree of life was also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Now God knew that Adam and Eve needed a place to live, and he made this place for him because God desires to bless his people. So we also read in Genesis chapter 1 that God made all the plants. So there was plants there, there were trees there, there was everything there that they would need. Now, Adam didn't live in a regular house like you and I. He didn't have 4 walls and a ceiling. He had the stars and the moon. He had the heavens to look at. Now, this was a beautiful place, and there was nothing to worry about there. But we're going to find out later on something happens in our story. So now I'm going to be reading from Genesis chapter 2, verses 10 through 14. Now the river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from there it parted and became 4 riverheads. The name of the first is Pison. It is the one which encompassed the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold. And the gold of that land is good, bdellium, and an onyx stone are there. The name of the second river is Gihon. It is the one which encompassed the whole land of Cush. The name of the third river is Hadelkel. It is the one which goes towards the east of Assyria. The fourth river is the Euphrates. So now we see God has supplied water. There is even water there for the vegetations, and there's nothing there for Adam to even worry about. It's just a lovely place. We're going to find out. God just mentioned a tree though. There's the 2 trees that are specifically mentioned. There is the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil that are in this garden. And they're going to play a role in this story. We're going to find out what happens. Now, to read from Genesis chapter 2, verse 15. Then the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to tend and keep it. So now, Adam not only lives there, but he also takes care of the garden. He is to live there. He is to take care of the garden as well. Reading on Genesis 2, verses 16 to 17. And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but of the tree of knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat, for in the day that you eat of it you shall surely die. God has just now given Adam instructions. He is saying there is one tree that if you eat of it, you'll die. Of everything else that's in the garden, you may eat of it. But this one tree, if you eat of it, you will surely die. God also gives us instructions. He gives us instructions on how we can be obedient to His will. He gives us His word, the Bible. God's instructions for us to live by is His word. His word is what we're supposed to live by. So God had given Adam instructions. He said there is one tree you should not eat from. Now God also gave man freedom of will. He didn't make us robots. We can be obedient or disobedient. And being obedient means that we are listening to what He tells us to do and we are doing it. Disobedient, we are not listening and we are doing what we want to do. So we find out later on which path Adam takes. Now, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Again, God said not to eat of this tree. This tree is going to come into play, and we're going to see how next week. So that's the end of our story for this week. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you again next week. Well, everyone, that's it for today. I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Be strong.